The Walt Disney Company is delaying the announcement of their next CEO by an entire year. Bob Iger tiring out, but will they be trading him out for a woman? Apparently not. Dana Walden may be on the outs. And folks, we're here to tell you there's much more big news surrounding Disney as it breaks. We're breaking it down for you. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Pro Channel, where we, as ever, endeavor to explain entertainment, keep you ahead of the culture curve, and we specialize in all things Disney. That's why I have Vash, Sky, and Jonas J. Campbell back. Gentlemen, how are you?
I am doing so very well. Vash, I'm doing better than you are.
Well, I don't know about that. I'm doing pretty good. Got my headache all cured up here. I am ready, dialed in, ready to talk about some Disney at the very topmost levels, the C-suite. Ooh, how could I?
You know who
how could I
has
not?
headaches? The people who have headaches. It's Disney.
There
All
you
right,
go.
here we have it. It's an article I've done out of thatparkplace.com. Folks, if you're not yet bookmarked the website, well, you should be. Disney's Dana Walden drops in likelihood to become next CEO dramatically after new announcement. Here's what it says. It says, when the ABC News presidential debate happened, the squawking heads of Hollywood intelligentsia were all convinced that Dana Walden had shored up her chances of taking the next CEO role once Disney head honcho Bob Iger rides off into the sun. Much of that is now undone. Walden, you see, is besties with Kamala Harris, even to the point of having introduced Harris to her husband. And though Walden was not brought up through the Disney ranks, as one would typically be preferred, having a former Fox exec who is besties with the forthcoming president was the carrot other Disney execs simply could not match. Though claims of a whistleblower at ABC may have abated, Disney confirmed many of the allegations, including that the moderators prepared to fact-check the candidates in order to prevent another CNN fiasco. However, continuing down, some industry analysts even went so far as to say the quiet part out loud. Folks, we covered this part in the video this morning. This is such a huge piece of news, though. We've got another angle we want to talk about here. I'm going to skip down a little bit for those of you who have already seen the prior video. If you've not, go check it out. We talk about this, and it's linked to ABC News. Here's what I want to talk about today, and that is James Gorman. James Gorman is the chief executive of Morgan Stanley, and he has plenty on his plate to do being the chief executive officer of Morgan Stanley. And yet, for whatever reason, he's been brought in to pick the future CEO of Disney. And this was going to be a cakewalk. At least that's what they thought. You see, Gorman would have overseen Walden's transition in, and I think if Harris had won. But now that there's a chance that's not going to happen, Disney, I believe, is reconfiguring until 2026. And I'll tell you why, guys, and you tell me what you think about it. We're going to start with Jonas, then we'll go to Vash. I think they are concerned now that without Walden as besties with the prez, right, that might not happen. I don't think the other internal candidates were ever serious or seriously considered. I don't think they're confident in any of their internal candidates. I think that Gorman is going to be there for 2025 as the head of the board because it's all hands on deck to find somebody outside of Disney to bring in. That's what I think. Jonas, am I wrong?
I think you're correct. There is one correction that I have to put in here. He's not the chief executive of Morgan Stanley. He's the former chief executive of Morgan Stanley. He's the executive chairman of Morgan Stanley, which
Apologies. That's a good correction.
Planning on stepping down because he successfully got a new chief executive into that Morgan Stanley seat there after a race that had three different people in it, and the people who did not get the CEO position stayed on, which is very significant for James Gorman there, which is maybe why they sought him out to be the executive chairman of the Walt Disney Company now. And it's a good thing, of course, that he is replacing Mark Parker, who is having trouble over there at Nike. They've just undone the thing that Bob Iger praised Nike for and tried to replicate at Disney. Whereas at Nike, they had Mark Parker step into the executive chairman role and have a CEO serve under him. So Bob Iger liked that. So that's what he did with Bob Chapek. And now this is a new, hey, what are you eating over there? Yeah, that looks good. I'll have some of that. Oh, what do you do to work out? Yeah, I'm just going to do that. You know, it's a very, you can't purchase something like this. So he's doing the next best thing and just imitating it. And which is also why it's such an uninspired idea to take your highest ranking female executive and just go ahead and make her the CEO of the company, even if she has no experience in your most lucrative sector of the company, that being parks and entertainment. Sorry, experiences, which they like to shorten that into something every few years they change it. I think Dana Walden right now has had one crisis that is a very public crisis, and she has failed in that crisis. And she was asked directly on the red carpet by that one guy from Variety that goes around asking people if it's the gayest version of whatever show that they are currently doing. The same one that's, is this the gayest Marvel project ever? Is this the gayest Star Wars show ever? That guy asked her to respond on this ABC News accusation, and she did not respond. She said something about how great ABC is. She looked like a deer in headlights. She did not respond well. And I think it was, whether or not she wanted it to be, a make or break moment for her getting what should have been probably announced by the end of the year, the CEO position for the Walt Disney Company.
So let's go to the quote then. Here's the quote we have out of NBC. Disney had initially targeted 2025 to announce a successor, as CNBC reported last year. Pushing the date back to 2026 will give the board more time to conduct due diligence on both internal and external candidates, according to people familiar with the matter who asked not to be named because the discussions are private. Vash, this doesn't look to me like they're very close to picking the successor. And I would also say that up until a month ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, everybody knew, everybody said, it's Dana Walden, including us. Today, all of that has changed. And I think it's because Dana Walden, everything that she touches fails. The only reason that she was a major player for the CEO spot was to have that connection with the White House. Now that that might not be there, they're ready to throw her overboard and find somebody outside of these candidates. Vash, if they're not going to announce until 2026, I think they're starting all over. What do you think?
They might be. Yeah, they might be. And which might explain why James Gorman has been thrust into the role that he is currently in right now, or will be in, I should say, going from the succession planning committee, which I'm assuming he'll stay on there in order to find a candidate, and now adding on to those duties, chairman of the board, which is quite startling to note there. I will say, I believe Alex Sherman's CNBC article did list that the 4 candidates that we keep hearing, Josh D'Amaro, Dana Walden, Alan Bergman, Jimmy Bertaro, are the ones that have been interviewed by the succession planning
and hold
committee.
up a second, Vash. That's so important. We can't lose that.
Please.
Because there's something unstated there that needs to be said, and that is,
Sure.
If they're saying they notified those 4 candidates, then it eliminates any other candidates internally. Jonas, do you agree with that one, Jonas? I don't want to speak on behalf of all of us.
Essentially, it does. If there's a problem with Josh D'Amaro that they've spotted at this point, then yeah.
So we've got 4 candidates, 4 because only 4 are notified. Otherwise, they'd say, and in a shocking twist, so and so and so and so and so was notified.
Right. They did act like there were external candidates, and that. Kevin Mayer and Tom Staggs are currently on as consultants. I don't know if their contracts are up at this point.
So
but they
would they be considered externals, though? Do you think?
I don't know. At this point, I think definitely technically they're considered external candidates, but originally they said it was external candidates, and most of the indications that we've gotten, and I don't know if I've shared this from a source that I know is informed on this matter, that they were hand waving the idea of external candidates, but they did not answer whether or not Kevin Mayer was considered an external candidate. In my opinion, he should be the CEO of the Walt Disney Company at this point, Kevin Mayer. But and that's not me saying that he agrees with everything I would say on a cultural war issue. I just think that they would have a lot less trouble if they had a strong-willed CEO that is capable of creating products that appeal to both sides of the aisle.
Okay, well, let me toss this to Vash then. Vash, if they're going through so-called due diligence with their 4 internal candidates and externals, I have a very hard time believing that due diligence was not already done on the internal candidates. And that's why I'm led to believe this is going external now. At least
That's a fair
you
point.
can't say for sure, but let's put it at 80%. I think 80% is fine. And I got to say too, if you're having to now do due diligence on external candidates and you don't have somebody selected and you're not going to select them until 2026, I think they are running scared at this point. I think they bet the farm on politics, and now the politics are not lining up the way that they had anticipated. And I think everything is kind of in chaos at the House of Mouse.
Well, it very well might be. That's the issue where we face right now, is because Dana Walden, with the decisions that she's made with the ABC News division and how that debate was handled and how those ratings have responded post debate, yeah, it definitely puts Dana Walden in question, I would say, for sure. And to me, she never was the perfect fit or the ideal fit, because I think her focus, at least with the business, especially under Fox, was a little bit narrowly focused. In terms of when you look at the broader picture of the Walt Disney Company, I think you do have to have some experience, let's say, for lack of a better term, and she just didn't offer that really. Whereas I think, honestly, how Bob Iger did it before, where he kind of switched roles, Tom Staggs, Jay Rasulo, from COO and the head of the Parks and Resorts division at the time, I thought was a better way to go about it, because at least you could see how they actually thrived in each respective role when they were actually flipped. We haven't seen that conducted so far, and I think that's doing a disservice to these internal candidates. And perhaps looking at just the raw performance of Dana Walden so far has made them rethink whether or not she's the right fit. I know, Bob Iger and Josh D'Amaro and Dana Walden, they were going to Oscars together, they were going to Disneyland Paris together, and so forth, in order to try to get both Josh D'Amaro and Dana Walden acclimated to the opposite sides of the business. But I just don't know if that's been effective, and perhaps the board is kind of spelling that out, let's say.
Vash, let's run through the internal candidates and why they don't seem to work, okay?
Yeah,
So
sure.
We've already talked about Dana Walden.
Right.
Then you've got Josh D'Amaro, who's over Parks and Experiences.
Right.
We're told by people that we trust that he's a very likable person and that privately, good guy. I'm sorry, though. The parks are in perhaps the worst disarray since the opening of California Adventure, and it might actually be worse than that. We might have to go back to when there was real fear the parks would be sold off. I mean, the parks are in a bad spot, and it's going to get worse. So Tomorrow, in my opinion, is out. And you can blame that on Bob. You can say, well, he's just doing what Bob says. Well, I'm sorry. It sucks for Tomorrow, but that's where we are. Bergman has had 2 wins this year with Deadpool and Wolverine and with Inside Out 2, but 2 wins out of many years. I mean, after 2019, really not good. And then you've got Pitaro. Pitaro's just not qualified. I mean, being the head of ESPN, that's it. And I'm not sure he's a good one. He's just not qualified. So, Vash, am I missing anything? Are any of these internal candidates, possible successors? I've never seriously thought they were.
I've never really have either. I think we put a lot of stock in Dana Walden just because I think she fits a lot of the let's say check boxes that the modern Walt Disney Company would like to have at the at that head position right there. But in terms of actual experience and know-how and acumen, I don't think really any of them have fit the bill, and that's really unfortunate because Bob Iger has run off 4 executives that probably were far more qualified than these internal candidates right now. That being Tom Staggs, Kevin Mayer, Jay Rasulo, and of course Bob Chapek. So the pickings get slim when you run off all your executives that could theoretically be in the role.
And again, all of this, in my estimation, due to politics, because I think they believed that there was no way that Dana Walden would not have her bestie in the position that would make Dana Walden be the absolute only pick for CEO. And then they thought, well, one of the reasons there's no possible way, and this is my speculation, is because we're going to make sure that happens with this debate. We're going to handle it this way. And none of it has worked for them. I'm not telling folks how the election's going to go. I'm not telling you which side to pick. I'm just trying to tell you what I think happened with Disney. One interesting thing I'd like to give Jonas final word on this. Jonas, whoever takes the role, they still got to deal with Iger. This is something that a lot of people don't know. Iger is very politically motivated, but he's also very financially motivated. The man could never have enough money, apparently. and he's still going to be at Disney for the foreseeable future. Jonas, can you explain to the folks out there how it is that Iger will both leave as CEO and never leave as CEO?
Well, the last time that it happened, he went from CEO to executive chairman. He was already executive chairman and CEO, which was obviously why he was able to get away with as much as he got away with in the past. And the idea was that Bob Chapek would just report to him, and all of the things that Bob Iger didn't want to do, Bob Chapek would have to do those things. That was not fully explained to Bob Chapek, as we're now coming to understand that Bob Chapek thought that he was in charge, which was hilariously incorrect. Not hilariously incorrect if you are a Disney shareholder. Now, even after he left the CEO position, Bob Iger has a consultancy contract. He had one in place when he left the CEO position in the past. It's also why he kept his office after he left the CEO position. He still kept that 2-shower-a-day office and had a 5-year consulting contract. After he returned as CEO, and we've seen the SEC filings, we see that that contract was re-upped. So he will again be a consultant for the Walt Disney Company for an additional 5 years, starting from the date of his departure. So he will be leaving the Walt Disney Company at the very earliest, December 31st of 2031.
And Vash, we know he's not leaving until at least 2031. Tell the folks out there what you've got up on the screen right now from Boardwalk Times.
Yeah, Boardwalk Times reporting via CNBC's reporting, Iger and the board haven't decided if he will extend his board tenure separate from CEO duties past 2026, according to CNBC. So there is a chance that we live with Bob Iger, at least in some other role, or maybe in spirit, with the Walt Disney Company long past when he's contracted to end his CEO-ship December 31st, 2026.
Right. Even beyond consultation, there could be more. And folks, as we always say here, Bob Iger thinks he's Bob Almighty, and he will be CEO emeritus no matter who comes through the door. All right, folks, that's the video for today. We just wanted to let you know the chaos that's happening at the House of Mouse. It has to do with politics in my estimation. And it seems that they bet everything on Dana and her bestie. And now that that's not working out, they are in a big hurry to find anyone else outside the House of Mouse. Folks, you can click that like button and send this out to all of our friends across the fruited plains of YouTube. Also, share, subscribe, and stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell. Drop a comment right on down below and let us know your thought about all of this mess. And folks, until the next time we have the honor of spending time with you, we wish you this on your way out the door. Keep learning, keep growing, and as ever, keep having fun.
I'm the ghost of Star Wars.
You know what would be a real treat this Halloween? Checking out WDW Pro. He's got all the sweet news on his Thursday live show at 5 p.m. Eastern.
Not to mention, his daily videos are a real treat.
Guys, I'm the ghost of Star Wars. Get it?
You know, we should go and make sure we're subscribed.
Guys, I'm the ghost of Star Wars.
And while we're at it, we'll ring that bell to make sure we're notified.
Great, let's go. Because, we actually care about that. Let's go.
Fact. Star Wars is not dead. It's haunting the staffs of Disney Plus.